Hey, Battle Bill, here with another video, getting into some more Season 8 Go Battle League battles, these taking place in the Remix Great League meta, and today I'm going to give you my go-to Remix team. There's a few days left in the season, and again, sorry about that, was away for a week, but this is the team that I've climbed hundreds of points with since Masters ended. These are some of the beginning battles though, so you might notice my elo bottom right is around 2700. I have 10 battles for you today. We're going to talk about how I play this team and whatnot, the leads, the swaps, all that fun stuff. And right now this team actually has me on the doorstep of legend, so tomorrow there might be a very exciting part 2. And shout out to XxPokebearz for this team. I'm gonna throw his Twitch in the description and his Twitter also, because that's where I got the team from. You might notice something about it, something right up Battle Bill's alley. It is the Remix double MUDBOYS. Because Swampert's banned, XxPokebearz is our honorary MUDBOY for this meta, and once I saw his team on Twitter, I knew I had to try it out, and I've had a bunch of success. So if you're excited for this type of content for the Remix MUDBOYS, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into all the good stuff and talk about the team and these battles. So I have 10 here, and hopefully when I hit legends, I'll have that set for you tomorrow. Against this first matchup, we have Froslass on a Shadow Hypno lead. How I like to play regular Hypnos, I like to just throw the Shadow Ball straight up. But because this is a Shadow Hypno, bit glassier, Powder Stones are adding up, Avalanche is going to hit hard, doesn't need to be super effective, gets a shield there anyway. They're going to throw their move. Hypnos just love to overfarm a bunch. So Thunder Punch comes through there. We decide to shield. They actually decide to swap. They come in with Whiscash. I know it takes a little bit for them to get to the Mud Bomb, so I'm going to throw an Avalanche first and then match Whiscashes. So I don't really want to have to go in the XxPokebearz against the Whiscashes based on the fact that, you know, oh, I threw 2 of them here. Just based on the fact that we don't want XxPokebearz getting hit by a blizzard. They were really overfarming a bunch, and getting an extra shield was huge. Unfortunately, was not able to swap out, but in this situation, I typically had swapped out before I had thrown 2 of those avalanches. But instead I got shields, so that works out nicely too. And that Whiscash with some mud shots is going to end up being in Mud Bomb range, and if it's not, I get a little bit more farm. And we even outpace them. So we're going to throw this Mud Bomb here. Should take them out, get them low, gets them almost there, almost with a mud shot down. They're going to throw their charge move here. I don't think I shield this. Nope, because it ends up being a Mud Bomb. And now they come back in with the Hypno, and a great answer for Hypno. Some of them are running Ice Punch because of this is XxPokebearz. XxPokebearz resists a lot of the charge moves that Hypno throws. Obviously, Focus Blast, super effective. Ice Punch, super effective. But those are not that common, or I haven't found them to be that common even in the Remix meta, just because they want to have Thunder Punch because it's a comfortable move for neutral damage, and then Fire Punch for any potential steel types and the Froslasses. They end up going for a charge move here. I remember doing this battle live. I clicked that shield by mistake. My finger slipped. I left this in. I had no intention of shielding that. I thought that was going to cost me this match. I knew that was going to be another Thunder Punch based on the way they threw it. That was 100% a misclick, and I remember because I was doing these battles live, and I literally just like went to get like my footing, and I tapped the screen. Great time. Anyhow, they come with Wigglytuff. XxPokebearz loves Wigglytuff because XxPokebearz can actually tank Charm. You know, Charm, not an oppressive move against something like XxPokebearz. That's why it's got that nickname. Get the 2 Earthquakes before they're able to charm us down. They come back in with the Whiscash. We mud shot them down, and that is GG for match number 1. Okay, next match. Froslass on Escavalier. I've been seeing this in the lead quite a bit, and it resists all the ice damage. But what I've noticed is what Escavaliers love to do is they love to throw the move, get the shield, then they don't commit. And I'm not really sure why they don't commit. Just because of the fact that like counter is single resisted and like drill run hurts, but they always let that Shadow Ball go through, and then most times you're able to Powder Snow them down like there. One time I had an opponent that swapped before I could Powder Snow down. Another Shadow Hypno. Here we go for the Shadow Ball because it's not in the lead and we don't have a lot of health left. Also, we could pivot, but what do we decide to do here? Do we decide to pivot? We do decide to pivot. We tried to catch. That's why we stayed in a little bit. We also got some of that farm back. And then they come in with Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz, a bit of a pain for this team. Ideally, ironically, our best counter for it is Froslass, and I will play out a majority of the Mandibuzz like matchups, the 1 shield, 2 shields. Whether Mandibuzz comes in, like if I'm facing a Mandibuzz lead, I'll stay in with Froslass. If Mandibuzz is safe swapped onto Froslass, I will keep Froslass in there. Your only other option is going with Whiscash and Blizzard, and I've tested out running Hyper Beam on XxPokebearz. to deal with the potential Mandibuzz weakness, but every time I ran Hyper Beam on Diggersby, I never could line up Diggersby with Mandibuzz properly to even land Hyper Beams. So here we end up, you know, throwing a bunch of Fire Punches until the switch timer ends up being up, because that matchup is super slow between how bulky both of them are and the fact that I can't really hurt Mandibuzz, and yeah, they're slowly adding up and hurting us with the foul plays, but even then Diggersby can tank it really well. We decide to come in here with Whiscash just because Fire Punches are just not going to get the job done. We got to get to a Blizzard here, and we have to take out this Mandibuzz's remaining health. So Mandibuzz, a little annoying, but it's not as bad as you think. It's not as bad as you think. I promise Froslass does really well against Mandibuzz, even though it's a dark type. And Whiscash, if you can place it properly, will get to the Blizzards in time. And also, one other thing, I might have said foul play, I don't know, I'm doing the shoutcast live, but one of my chat members mentioned that this Mandibuzz is throwing Dark Pulse, which is a little bit more helpful because it takes a little bit longer to get to. It does more damage, but because of the slower energy generation, it definitely helps in certain situations when you're playing against it. Now here, we're just going to, well, we don't have a choice but to let charge moves go through. We're going to commit to a farm down of a Mud Shot on the Hypno, and then we're going to throw our Blizzard on the Mandibuzz, and we should win CMP, and that is how we pull off this match. Even if they were running foul play and had a foul play loaded, Whiscash definitely wins CMP here, and that is going to be a GG for match number 2. Also keep in mind, like I said, I'm on the doorstep of Legend, so I don't remember all these battles perfectly well off the top of my head, but I do remember majority of the matchups. Now, Jellicent, a bit of a pain. Heck, like, Diggersby on PvPoke can beat it, but I don't like Diggersby's matchup that much because a lot of Jellicents are running Ice Beam. Whiscash can Mud Bomb spam it, but I like to actually stay in here because we get to the Shadow Balls at similar times. And I've played this matchup out quite a few ways, but I definitely go for multiple, either 1 or 2 shielding scenarios when playing out this lead. So as you'll notice, I'll just go straight Shadow Ball because baiting with Avalanche is super punishing if they decide to call bait. I also tried to catch a move there, and this was when I let the Jellicent take out my Froslass. This one I don't have an exact way of playing it out. I played it out multiple ways. I'm not really happy with any of them because then also Jellicents will sneak through charge moves, and then it gets really annoying because if they, a charge move, sneak through a fast move, and then they end up ahead of you in energy, and they get a Shadow Ball through before you can. Now there's the Ice Beam. Ice Beam does about a third, even though Jellicent's tanky. That Ice Beam does hurt for that super effective damage on something like Diggersby. We're gonna get off the Earthquake. This is not going to take out the Jellicent. We're going to try to Mud Shot down. We're going to have to shield the Ice Beam here. It's obviously either Ice Beam or Shadow Ball, so that's a positive. We don't have to worry about getting baited. But I am worried that we're going to potentially not be able to Mud Shot it down. Then they swap into Obstagoon, so we're going to throw an Earthquake, and then we're going to pivot into Whiscash and throw Mud Bombs there. Now, Obstagoon's another matchup that you might be wondering and considering this team weak to. When we see it in the lead is when we'll talk about it more, but Obstagoon we don't mind either. The Dark types that you might expect to be big issues are really not for this team. The only time they become real issues is if you have one of them and then they're followed by one of them and then they're followed by a Froslass, which is relatively common. But in this situation, I'm losing my train of thought trying to talk about the match because I didn't realize we won that one. But it's relatively meta team, but we don't really run into it that much. I don't know. I'm not giving a great explanation there. Mandibuzz and Obstagoon followed by Froslass is a loss, but that's 2/3 of a team. No team is going to be perfect, and you just got to do what you can in those situations to play around it. But that would definitely be a losing matchup. Again, every team's going to have those. Getting into the next matchup, we have Froslass on Lanturn. Lanturn, not a Pokemon I'm seeing too often, but in this situation, as much as we have 2 MUDBOYS and they're running Spark, we do want to be careful. We don't want Diggersby getting Earthquaked. And then, again, like I said, I'm not seeing Lanturn too much. Probably should have pivoted immediately into like Whiscash, because then they would have swapped out, and then we could have lined up Diggersby with Earthquake against Lanturn late game. Instead, we get Hydro Pump, which is not the most ideal thing in the world, and then they come with Mandibuzz. We can let this charge move come through. I think we barely survived foul play. But we're going to let this come through, and we're going to get this Blizzard off, which is pretty huge, just based on the fact that they threw that foul play immediately. So they're pretty energy dry here. They'll get 1 extra Snarl in, and they let the Blizzard come through, which was pretty huge too. So I think what I decided to do here, and also, one other thing, this is like how you play Froslass on almost every team, is we don't mind sacrificing shields for huge energy generation. So in this situation, there's a strong chance they're going to get to another foul play, but we're committing to the Powder Snow down, and they were not able to, which is pretty amazing. But now they come with a Registeel. Not a great thing that we want to see a Steel type on our Froslass, but because we have so much energy there, we're able to spam the Shadow Balls, and we're going to go for another one before we try to catch a Flash Cannon on our Diggersby. But I don't think that goes that well in this match. So they get a shield there. And their Lanturn, we remember, is relatively low. It's pretty energy dry. Because we didn't pull the swap, we're just going to let Froslass go down. And we're going to hope that Diggersby can commit to, not a farm down, but we want to Fire Punch the Registeel. They tried to swap to catch a Fire Punch on their Lanturn, which was a smart move because I'm not going for the Earthquake against the Registeel, but we decided to Fire Punch there. And the reason why we Fire Punch is because we want to commit to a Mud Shot down and have a bajillion energy. Now we have a bajillion energy, because that's definitely a number. We can spam Fire Punches easily. Could we have worried about the Hydro Pump? Maybe a little bit, but we knew they were energy drive because once you throw a Hydro Pump, it's kind of hard to go above a Hydro Pump energy when they threw it at the Whiscash earlier in the match. They also Focus Blasted, let that go through just so you could see that even though Focus Blast is super effective, Diggersby is too thick, can easily tank. Lock-ons are not going to farm you down. And now we get into the next. So we have Froslass on a Mandibuzz lead. Ideally, this would be Air Slash Mandibuzz, which is probably why it's swapped immediately. Air Slash Mandibuzz Froslass can beat, at least from my experience, Froslass does very well. When it has Snarl, it's a little bit more uncomfortable. So what I try to do is play out like the 1 or the 2 shields and then catch a move on either Whiscash or Diggersby. Usually Whiscash, so we get them Blizzard after. But they decide to save swap into Empoleon. And when you're running a double Mudboy strat, Empoleon save swap, pretty amazing thing to run into. So we're going to throw a Mud Bomb here. We're going to get both of their shields, which is also huge. And then, what did I decide to do here? I could go either or. I could go Diggersby for the Earthquake to finish it off. I also could have gone Froslass, but I think, oh, I know what my logic was here. I went in Diggersby here to finish off Empoleon because the Waterfalls would slowly add up on Froslass. Ironically, they're super effective against Diggersby, and they probably do less damage, or at least visually, to Diggersby. And we're going to overfarm a little bit. And the reason why we did that is because we want to make sure that we can take care of the Mandibuzz with Froslass in this zero shield situation. And we're really also hoping that they have another Pokemon now weak to Froslass, because a lot of teams do run, a lot of team comps are run like that. And that is Air Slash Mandibuzz there, so that's why they swapped out of the lead. Now, unfortunately, because they committed to the 2 shield, they flip switch. This might be a match I lose. I definitely didn't include only wins in here, and we decided to quit. But that was the big thing when we had the Whiscash on the Empoleon matchup. They committed to the 2 shield, and the mistake I made was not committing a shield. But that's a learning curve right there. I can't rewind. But again, one thing when you have Whiscash on Empoleon, you do want a shield to make sure that you can keep switch in that situation. And then committing both shields there when I didn't shield is what won them that match. Against this next one, we had a weird lead. Excadrill. Excadrill, definitely a weird one. They save swapped. I save swapped into Whiscash because Froslass on Excadrill does not sound like a good time because it's a Steel type. As much as Excadrill is super glassy, I definitely would prefer to run into it in a no shield situation than in the 2 shield because the Rock Slides are going to one-shot the Froslass. I'd be pretty confident that's what's going to happen. Also, playing it the way that I played it, even though we didn't get switch here, we got shield advantage going into Froslass. They're going to throw a charge move, and now we can commit to a farm down. This was quick. I called this one. Pretty confident I called this one. Yep, my memory doesn't always deceive me. And then they swap into Sableye, and we want to now in a lesser shielding situation, we want to keep Froslass lined up with Excadrill because the Shadow Ball will almost one-shot it from its full health. But also, they took quite the mud shots when they stayed in when I save swap my Whiscash. So the Excadrill's health is pretty low. Now we have Diggersby on Sableye. We much prefer Diggersby here than Sableye because Diggersby resists all the ghost damage that is coming through, whereas Froslass is going to take super effective, and then also we're only dealing neutral to Sableye there. And they go for a return, which was a huge call on that end. We get the Fire Punch off, but it was a CMP tie, so we're going to undercharge it, hope that we don't kill. Because it was a return, we know we can commit to a complete farm down, and even if they get to a foul play, we're not worried about that. So farm down, and Champ's gonna come back in, super effective damage. Could have tried to commit to a mud shot down, would have been quite stressful there. So we overfarmed a little bit, and then we threw the Fire Punch. They decided not to shield because of the fact that like Machamp was practically dead. Anyway, come back in with Excadrill because we overfarmed the way that we did. The Fire Punch gets the shield, and then we are going to come in with Froslass, and like I said, lining up late game, get the Shadow Ball onto the Excadrill. We much prefer to see the Excadrill there, and that is. Oh, get into the next match. I apologize if that was a weird cut, but I did not reset this Shoutcast video as well as I thought I did. So I'm going to have to go back in there and re-edit. So again, if my voice cuts weirdly, that's why. Apologize. Against this next match, we have Froslass on a Shadow Gardevoir lead. Now, the way I usually like to play the Charm leads, because usually what you'll see is Wigglytuff. This is also a legend that's running Spice, and I respect the heck out of the Spice, and this match is pretty much over now. But the way that I like to play the Charm leads with Froslass is exactly how I played it there, except usually they don't get one shot like that. Usually it's a Wigglytuff, and I'll throw an Avalanche. They'll survive it, and then I'll safe swap into Diggersby, because Diggersby can tank the Charms pretty well. Because they decided to just let Gardevoir go down like that, and they came with Crustle, we can now realign that Crustle because we safe swapped in Whiscash, and we get to keep Castform on Whiscash, which usually isn't a positive matchup. Actually, Castform can be a bit of a problem in the lead or in the safe swap, because Castform just like barely beats a lot of this team. It does the best against Diggersby, but Castform on Whiscash and even shields, Castform just barely wins, and the Water Guns and the Weather Balls be adding up against Froslass. Also, this is also a really good swap by my opponent, so even though he's running quite the Spice, he's definitely trying in this match. But because we have Diggersby, and Diggersby absolutely walls Crustle, on top of the fact that this Crustle is running Rock Throw, so this rock damage is not hurting. This is definitely a GG already, but because of the fact that they let their lead go down so easily, we knew we had to pivot the way that we did. We definitely didn't want to get Rock Throw farmed down on our Froslass, and we were able to pivot into Whiscash because we have 2 ground types. We're not really worried about any of this rock damage, so we're just gonna let this all come through. We're gonna save our shield for the move that does the most damage, which would potentially be Castform's Weather Ball if my opponent plays this out that far. My opponent, again, previous legend, he already knows this match is lost for him, but he continues to drag this one out. Actually, I know this dude, and there we go. Now he decides to quit. So he was definitely not thrown for the content there. He was just running some Spice in general, and we happened to queue into each other. We're going to have Froslass on a Whiscash lead, and the way we want to play this is let them do that. Froslass does well against Whiscash because of the spamming of the Avalanches. They then safe swap into Charizard, and ironically with 2 ground types, I mean, Charizard's also a flying type, but it is a fire type, and Charizard's a bit of a pain to deal with. And whenever I line up my Whiscash against the Charizard, they always seem to call my Blizzards. And then if I would have Mud Bomb baited there, they would have called my bait. So there's no real winning that situation, but you really need to land the Blizzard if you're running up against a Charizard. This is looking like the relatively common Mudboy double fire team. And ironically, even though we're double ground, I struggle against this team basically because of Charizard. Charizard being that flying type, it's not a regular fire type for that reasoning. And then we go for the Mud Bomb here, and I guess this bait was super obvious because they called. So not a happy camper at this point. I'm like, all right, let's just get off as many Mud Bombs as possible. And also because of the fact that the Charizard's running, what is that? Is that Air Slash? That's not Wing Attack. That's Air Slash. We could have actually avoided getting farmed down and then came in with Froslass to try and like arm a little bit and throw an Avalanche or outpace it, but then again, we didn't have any shields here. But just in certain situations, having Froslass on a Charizard isn't terrible if it's not, you know, running a fire fast move, like in this situation. We're going to go for the Fire Punch here because obviously, both moves are going to be resisted, and Charizard's pretty glassy. We got it really low, then we safely swapped into the Froslass to get a little bit of farm because we were expecting the double fire, and this is already GG. I want to see how much the Shadow Ball did. I think I quit this. I did not quit this. Was I hoping to Mud Shot down? That Whiscash pretty much full out because it swapped down immediately. But yeah, there we go. I quit there. Double fire, definitely a struggle to go up against with this team comp, very ironically, but again, I already explained why. And this next match, Froslass on Nidoqueen. Haven't been seeing this in the lead as much, but Nidoqueen lead is a beautiful lead to run into. Now, Obstagoon safe swap. Obstagoon safe swap. We play out similarly to how we play out the Obstagoon lead. We count the counters. So Obstagoons, because they run Night Slash, love to throw immediately for potential boosts. So we shield the first Night Slash and swap on the second one. We play it out exactly like that. Whether it's in the lead or in the swap, that is exactly how we play it out. We get their energy. They're also stuck here. Of course, they get boosts here, which does not help my situation. But we really would prefer to keep Froslass lined up with the Nidoqueen. But Nidoqueen struggles against this entire team comp, so we don't really mind the Nidoqueen being anywhere. We just barely get to this Blizzard in time. They did get a boost, so they may want to commit to the Obstagoon, or they don't, and we land the Blizzard and take it out, which is huge. Thankfully, that boost didn't come back to bite us. If they would have called that, it could have definitely been a problem. But we would have gotten the shield, and then Froslass probably would have been able to Avalanche it because of the way we caught. And again, like I said, Nidoqueen has no play against this entire team, so we can safely come into Froslass here in the one shield situation, especially because Froslass has energy, and throw these avalanches. We're going to shield this up because we want to get off another avalanche. Yes, we do. And we're going to outpace because of the fact that we have the energy advantage before they get to the second foul play. We're going to throw this to either get that shield or take them out, and then we swap to try to keep our Froslass alive. And again, this is GG. Nidoqueen can't do anything against Diggersby. Yeah, it can land Earth Power or get debuff with a Poison Fang, but neither of those things are very stressful, and Earthquake one-shot. So now this is one of those situations, very rare, where Diggersby does very well against Mandibuzz because, you know, Diggersby has full health and Mandibuzz has no health. So we're going to spam quite a few Fire Punches here, and we're going to end up taking this match. So I apologize. I feel like when I do my shoutcasts, I usually just give the play-by-play. I haven't really explained battles as much, or when I do my shoutcasts, I haven't really tried to speculate other opponents or the current battlers thinking as much. So it's like getting back into the mode of explaining certain matchups and explaining battles. It's been a while for me to do that too. I guess there's really two types of shoutcasts. But also we got a little trigger that this opponent decided to continue to play this out, and it was a clear loss. So we decided to Earthquake their Mandibuzz when it was at 1 HP. Gotta BM sometimes. How many battles has that been? Has that been 10 battles? No, it's not. We've got another one. So let's see what else we're going to run into. But yeah, some of the ones that you're probably thinking about is like Mandibuzz and Obstagoon. Nidoqueen was popular in the beginning of this meta, not so much now, at least that's what I'm seeing. And I'm sure there'll be more matchups when I hit Legend with this team, and I'll explain some of those also. So going up against this Escavalier, we're going to shield the drill run that's going to come through. And there was one Escavalier that shielded against me. I've faced like 3 or 4. Very random, but this was not the Escavalier that shielded. So land that Shadow Ball. They almost never shield though. I faced the majority of the time, out of the 3 of the 4 times, they only shielded once. Such a big sample size. Anyhow, they come with Cast Form. We decide to pivot after we take out the Escavalier, just because we have a bunch of energy on Froslass, and we know Whiscash can do well. Even though we're at a shield disadvantage, we could spam hopefully enough Mud Bombs to put the Cast Form in a range where maybe we Avalanche it and save a little bit of energy from Froslass instead of feeling like we need to Shadow Ball it. I'm gonna go for another Mud Bomb here. This will either get the shields or get the Cast Form really low, get it in the red. And then they're going to come through with a Weather Ball here. I'm pretty confident I decide not to shield this. Oh no, I decided to shield this. Like I said, recalling everything I've done, not the easiest thing in the world. I don't know why I decided to shield that. And then we get lag here. Honestly, what I should have done was let Whiscash go down. I think the reason why I shielded it, I was worried about not dying and then having to... and then getting farmed down, and then potentially having to worry about Weather Ball on Froslass when they come in, because I want the Powder slow down the Cast Form. That's not exactly an easy thing to do either, because Cast Form resists, and Rainy Cast Form is relatively tanky. It's a bit of a thick one. And then Golbat on Diggersby is a pretty positive matchup for Diggersby, just based on the fact that even though Golbat is a flying type, you do want to go for the Earthquake because it's also a poison type, so Earthquake is single resisted. Single resisted Earthquake is a better move than neutral. When it's only one, I guess, I don't know, one type effectiveness difference, Earthquake is still the play because of stab, whereas Fire Punch is non-stab. The only real time you want to go for oh, there we go. There's the last battle. Fire Punch is like when there's a 2 type effective difference. Like if Fire Punch would have been super effective and then Earthquake would have been resisted. Or you just want to use Fire Punch as a bait move. So, of course, let me know about my Remix MUDBOYS. I want to hear all about it. I highly recommend this team. Those were 10 battles. I don't want to keep the video too long. Also, me going through max eliminations while the video is going pretty fast, and also the fact that I haven't done a shoutcast where I've explained battles in a bit. A little rusty there, but again, let me know what you thought. Hopefully you can use this team, have success with it. Like I said, we are on the doorstep of Legend right now. Currently, if you want to tune in and check out my battles live and see me hit Legend, even though right after I finish this video, I'm actually going to do the battles live on Twitch, so probably not a good chance you're going to see them live. But link to my Twitch in the description of this video, and we're currently at 29.95 ELO. So like I said, team is working really well for me, and I hope you can have success with it. Also, give me your thoughts and comments and anything about the battles in the comment section below. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next